This is what we're trying to achieve. This is part of the pattern, and these are the other bits of pattern that I've cut apart. And what you need is a light box, which is one of those. If you haven't got one of these, then a window with the light coming through so you can hold it up against the window, or television or a computer, anything with light at the back of it. But I happen to have a light box, and so let's begin. So these are finished ones, just to give you an idea of what they should look like when you've finished. Obviously I've still got some more to do, which I should demonstrate by doing a tutorial. But as you can see, for each one I did a this is what I used to sort of like help me to get that right. I put A1 as burgundy, the 4 ones as white, and then green 1. Well, I've called this my green 1. And then this one was green 1 and white for the outside. Now I've still got these 3 to do. What you can do is, however many you need, is pull a 4 one off and then write on it all your colours, so you've got something to reference to, so you don't get mixed up of what you've chosen to do, and then cut the other one up and then keep the one that you've written on. So I should now pull another one off and then use these 2 to do the remaining. So this is the site I got the pattern off, and you can actually get other patterns from here as well. It's called Generations Quilt Patterns. And then if you scroll down, and there's the one that we're doing now, which is Stum at Sea Quilt. And if you scroll down to it says Printable Quilt Patterns, and then do this, and then it automatically then gives you the blocks to print. So that's how I printed them off, and print as many as you want. It depends on how many blocks you wish to do. So we're going to do this centre square, which is this one, and you probably can't see it very well, but it's that one. And on this one is the one that I've done green 2, green 1 and white. There are my colours and where I want them to be placed. So I'll use that as a reference. So, because I mean on there they've got B1, B3, B7, B5, and that's the order they wish you to do it and what colours. So therefore, number 1 is the centre, which mine is white. So I need to cut out a square, obviously, that's bigger than that in the white that I've chosen. So I've got mine ready, and there's the square I've done for the centre. Now it is too big, but that's, you want it too big. I've cut a few squares out of my next colour, which is G1, I've called green 1, and then this is B1, so that's this square. The next one I would do would B2, which obviously then that's the triangle I'm trying to cover, so that fabric then would go that way and cover there. Right, where you sew is this black line all the way around. Every single one is the black line, so therefore your fabric goes on the reverse. So there's the square in the centre. I've now got my light on. There's the square in the centre, so I want it right side facing me, and I know I've got enough fabric to cover that white square with extra on the outside. So B2 is this side. There's the triangle I'm trying to cover there, and I want it basically to cover there. So if I was to do that, do right sides together, sew across that line there that joins B1 and 2, and then when I fold it back I'm going to have plenty to cover that triangle. So basically what you do is, there's, put your square in, the white square in the middle, that one on top, making sure you've gone over the line because you want it to fold out like that, right sides together, but you always sew the other side. So pick it up and sew. Now if you ever look through this way, if you've got a light box or you look at your window, you can see that I've got plenty of fabric of the white sticking out there, plus my green or my flowered fabric, and I've got plenty to sew on that line. So what you do is, you're sewing on this side, so make sure you're picking it both up together and you're scooting it, holding it all the time so nothing moves. Just turn you out of the machine. And you're making sure that your needle is going to go in. There's the number 1, there's number 2, and you need to sew these two together. So that's the white one and the first colour into that corner. Go back, right down that black line, and then cut the threads. And what you do then is, I'll have to stand up to see if you can see. What you do then is you need to cut with your, so there's just your sew line just across here, so bend that back because you don't want to cut any of your paper. Right, so that's your fabric that side. So you've now bent that back, and that's your sewn line. You need to do 1/4 inch. So you get your ruler, put on the edge of your paper, and when I can find my rotary, here you go. So that's what we've got left over of both the white and the first colour, and that's where we sewed, turned over, and then you press that out there, and that's your first line underneath there. That's where you've just sewn, and you now only got 1/4 inch. So the next one is number 3. We've done 1 onto 2, 1 and 2, then they want you to do number 3, so they want you to do 1 and 3 together. You do the same procedure, make sure that you've got enough fabric to cover the triangle that's underneath there. So obviously then that goes that way, and when you fold it over it's going to cover. So, and then you pick it up, turn it over, that's your sew line, and you can see through that you've got enough fabric peeking up to cover. Turn you around to the sewing machine. You do the same thing again. You want to sew through the dark lines. Make sure when you pick it up that you're picking it up by holding both ends, turning over, and making sure you're placing your needle into making sure your needle has gone onto the corner of the dark line. do the number that you're supposed to be doing, which that one is 3, and ready for the next one. Then we have just done number 3. Fold the paper back. That is your sewn line. All your fabric is underneath. 1/4 inch on your edge of your paper, and then chop off. So there's your 1/4 inch, and that's that one sewn back side. So that's B1 onto number 2 onto number 3. So the next one is 4 or B4, and this is the fabric I'm still using on all my triangles on the edge. So I've done 2, 3, now I want 4, and the opposite is 5. So that's the one I want to do. Turn it over. That's how I want it to end up, that way like that. So if I turn it right sides together, make sure I've got plenty of fabric over that line, and if I lift up you'll be able to see that line there. I've got plenty of fabric. You sew on the paper side, so when you lift up, make sure you grab both ends and carefully place underneath your machine, making sure that it doesn't fold up in any way. Put your needle into the corner, making sure that everything's flat. You're sewn from corner to corner. I want to put you straight down to the cutting board so you can see the procedure. I've just sewn that. That's B4. Fold it back, and all the fabric that's underneath is that side and the cotton. So you've just sewn that line there, fold your paper back, and obviously then you know your fabric is that way, and that's what you don't want. So you put your 1/4 inch on the edge of your paper, all that fabric then will be chopped off, and then when you fold it over and then press, and then we do the same this side. Again I'm doing number 5, so I've done, that's number 1, 2, 3, 4. We're now on number 5. That's what it's looking like on the right side, fabric side, and I want this to end up like that. So I do right sides together, making sure there's plenty over the line of the triangle that I'm going to sew, which is down there. So there's plenty there. Again, when you pick it up, make sure that you're picking up so nothing gets folded. Turn it round, grasp it in both sides, and then twist over onto your machine on the sewing line. Just take you up to the machine. Put your needle into the corner. Making sure everything's flat underneath. Move you over to the cutting board, pull it over what you just took out of the machine, This is the line that you've just sewn, 5. So turn your fabric over and flatten it down on the machine line, making sure that all your fabric that you want to come that way is over there out the way, so you're not going to chop it off. Put your 1/4 inch off your ruler on the side of the paper, on the edge of the paper, and that's all the fabric that we don't need, and then press that one open. So if we go back to our pattern, we're now done 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, number 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So then it wants me to do 6, 7, 8 and 9, and I've done that in green 2. Now my green 2 is this one, so I need to cut me some wedges big enough for these size triangles there, 4 of them, and then we'll continue. So there's number 6, that's next procedure, and that's my sewing line right across there. So if I turn it over, it will now be moved over to this side. So if I look underneath, I can actually see my line under there I'm going to sew. So what I need to do is make sure that's how I want it to end up, put the fabric right size together, making sure that I've got enough of this fabric over that line. So let's take you to the sewing machine, making sure that you're holding both pieces of fabric from either side and then scooting it underneath. You need to find the B6 line, or number 6, and then making sure your needle starts in the very corner. Go back a couple of times, going on the black line, as soon as you get that corner, go back, and then making sure that you can still see this bit. Let's move you over. Scooting, that's where you've just sewn there. So making sure that's still in the same position, lying down, right sides together, turn it over, fold the fabric back, putting your 1/4 inch onto the edge of the paper and cutting off any fabric that sticks out. And then when you take that fabric back, you know that you've got no bulk under there, and you press that way. So that's so I'll continue to sew. So I've got all my colours done, and then on the back, on your sewing page, you'll see where you've got a thick black line all the way around, then sew that all the way around in a square. Then you'll also see next to it, 1/4 inch away, you've got a line. I forgot what you call it, where you've got a one, a gap, a line, a gap, a line, a gap, a jagged. Anyway, that's your cut line. So that should be 1/4 inch away from your black line that you've just sewn, and then you cut all that out on all 4 sides. And that should be your 1/4 inch sewing line that you attach obviously to your next block. So make sure you cut 1/4 inch and leave your papers on. Do not take them off at this stage. We'll still sew them all together and take them off when we've finished it all. So there you are, that's that block done. So that's all my completed parts, and now we're going to have to sew them together. I've still got my paper on the back. I won't take that off until the end. We'll start with this row, then this row, then this row. Using clips, I'll put the first two together, and then I won't use my 1/4 inch foot as a gauge. I shall use the already sewn 1/4 inch. Right, once you've sewn your 3 layers together, it's at this point that I am going to take the backing paper off, so then I can press them and get them as flat as possible to put together with seams joining. Just start peeling it off as best you can. Your stitch length should have been really small, making this process now a lot easier. I think mine was on about 1.6 or 1.5, and just keep going till you've finished them all. So this is my block with all the paper off. I've left little bits, but that's not going to hurt. And what I've done for my seams is I've opened them out so they're not so bulky and pressed. And now we're going to attach that one and attach that one. And there's the finished article, and I've ironed the seams in towards the centre. Give it a good press, and it does look like a circle within a square, and that's what I like about this block. Well, that's it. I'll put all the details on that you need to know on the beginning, and enjoy and have fun, and I hope you have a go at some kind of paper piecing.